Hey everyone, welcome back to the Digital Chemical Playbook podcast. This is the only and unique podcast where people talk and share about technology and how to infuse technology in the chemical distribution business. Today, we have a bit of a special episode because our guest comes actually from DKSH. We are delighted to meet with David Enright, that we will call Dave for the rest of the podcast. Dave is hosting the senior director position for DKSH Corporate on digital transformation and AI. So we thought that getting the perspective from an expert such as Dave across the different vertical would be very insightful for all our audiences and listeners. So hope you will enjoy the episode and we will be able to start. Good afternoon, Dave. How are you?
Good day, wherever you are in the world. I'm good. Happy to be here, Florian. So excited to talk about AI.
Great to have you today. So you are actually based in Singapore, right? I'm based in Barcelona. So this is the reason why we could not make it in the studio today. We are recording the episode a few days before Christmas. So we take care of the special conditions. So we make sure we have this episode. Dave, as I said, you have been you're hosting the role of senior director for group digital transformation and AI at DKSH, but you have a deep background working in technology, working in tech, working in AI companies. So maybe can we start with a short introduction of yourself and tell us what is your background? What's the story of Dave until today?
Yeah, thanks. So as we know, AI got invented in 2021, right, Florian?
Almost.
Launched. Yeah, no, I've been on this journey a long time. I actually studied computer science and psychology at university in the early 2000s because back then I wanted to get into artificial intelligence and I wanted to understand how the human brain worked and how we could apply that to AI. But it wasn't so state-of-the-art. Well, actually, the most state-of-the-art AI that we had back then at my university, they were showing off a little robot that had just learned to navigate a room using computer vision. And that was pretty much state-of-the-art AI. And most people's exposure back then was using maybe spell checker and Microsoft Word. And that's about as advanced as it got. But there wasn't, outside of research, there wasn't really much of a career in it. So I ended up entering the workforce and doing a lot of traditional IT stuff. Network administration, things like that. And then eventually found my way back into tech companies when, if we rewind the clock back to 2026, people started saying data is the new oil. Do you remember that, Florian?
Yes.
Yes, that started to be the big buzzword back then. And it was all about getting data out of silos and consolidating all of your data. So my career basically started to pick up being a data expert at Amazon, and then also leveraging AI as well around machine learning. And then, of course, over to Microsoft and leading an innovation team at Microsoft around AI and data. And then, of course, the DKSH, where we are today.
Wow. That's super inspiring background. And you said it, right? AI was invented 2 years back for many people around us. And before it became actually mainstream, this is something that was basically quite techy, for dozens of years until we got that shift. And I think that shift also explains why experts like you slowly shift from working in tech company to more traditional companies such as DKSH. Maybe we can talk about this corporate adoption of AI later on. But what you're saying is that you first work on big data, as we used to call it in the past, that then smart data or now data to value. You've been working for very big names, right? You've been mentioning Amazon, Microsoft, and so on. What are the places or what would be the place that changed you the most, right? From the student that was working on computer science to the senior director of today, where have you been living the biggest transformation in your career?
Definitely the year I've been at DKSH, mate. And the reason is it's when you work at these tech companies, you can kind of be yourself. They have quite big budgets to invest in technology. Yes, there's massive amounts of learning. We always say you're drinking from the fire hose because there's so much
Uh-huh.
learning that you're doing at these places. But the biggest change definitely has been at DKSH because we've had the DKSH is a complicated business. It's everything from how we sell to how our business runs to all the different BUs, business units that we have is very complex. It's a very different world in terms of operating model and margins and things like that. And we really have to think outside of the box and think differently when it comes to transformation. There's
Yeah.
there's not like big, in the normal world out there with a lot of companies, especially at the moment, there's not these giant buckets of money just to throw at new ideas. And so my personal probably biggest growth has been coming to this company and learning to adapt and learning how to transform a 160-year-old Swiss company. So yeah, DKSH for sure.
That's a fair point, and I really align with you on that one, and also for our audience and people listening to us today, right? DKSH, you know DKSH from the specialty chemicals distribution and life science ingredients in distributions, but DKSH is actually a company with 4 business units, right? With the healthcare, consumer goods, technology, and performance materials, right? So behind the Fantry logo, there are many different business and different business applications, but there is a lot of people, right? And Dave, I think this is the biggest challenge. You first talked about AI, then about data and how to get value from data. There is potentially something else related to AI is how we get and how we secure the adoption behind our project, how we are securing the way that people will potentially change their mindset, change the way they work, and also give tangible results out of it. So, now we know a bit more about you and your background. If you take a look at the DKSH organization, we hear a lot from AI because it became mainstream. On the other level, there are a lot of news, and we talk a lot about money, about investment, potentially having AI as a bubble, right? Because it's moving a lot of money around. But most of people listening to us today, they work in corporations, on traditional company. They sell product. They have logistic centers, warehouse, and somehow we can see a kind of a gap from the highlights of the Financial Times, Wall Street journals, and so on, to the reality of the business. What is your view on that? And what do you think about this gap between people and actual transformation and trends at DKSH?
Yeah, so let's first of all break down what is AI, because
Yes.
it's really come into the zeitgeist
Yes.
of many people's awareness recently, but it has been around for quite some time. So first of all, we need to define what is it? What does it mean? And then how does it apply to us? And AI really has been a field of study since the 1950s for him.
Yeah.
So it goes back that far.
Cybernetics.
Yes, and then there was linguistics that were very interested in it, and then it kind of lost interest and wasn't really a very serious field until the 1990s. In the 1990s, it started picking up, and it started picking up with this this kind of AI capability that we call machine learning. And machine learning is predicting your spam that's coming into your email box. It's predicting what is your house price going to be. It's predicting or classifying or categorizing populations together based on things that they like. And that kind of AI was, like I said before, when I was joking at the start, was used in things like Microsoft Word and was used in some basic computer vision and spam detection. That AI still exists today, and it's called machine learning, and it's been incredibly useful. But you made a very, very interesting point before that it was really data scientists and very technical people that were using it and were building it. Still very valuable today, though. Then, of course, we had, fast forwarding a little bit, one of the problems with machine learning is that it doesn't work on big data. If you're trying to predict handwriting, for example, your handwriting, Florian, is very different to my handwriting. So I could train a machine learning model that could recognize mine, but it would fail on yours. So then we entered into this world called, you probably heard of deep learning.
Yes.
And neural networks. And that was actually started by a guy, Geoffrey Hinton. who was a professor at one of the Canadian universities and also part of Google. And him and his students built the first neural network, which was called to recognize handwriting. And a little company at that time called NVIDIA came along to Jeffrey and said, hey, we make video game graphics cards. The mathematics for the video games is very similar to what you're trying to do with this neural network. We think that you don't need to have 1,000 servers at Google. You can run it on 2 servers with our cards. Lo and behold, that worked. And that was the start of the NVIDIA story.
Okay.
And of course, fast forward a little bit to 2021, and we have generative AI. And obviously, everybody's used things like ChatGPT, and we've seen what generative AI can do. So we still have those 3 kinds of AI today. And the one of the ones that people are most exposed to and getting most of the media about is generative AI. ChatGPT, AI that can kind of read, it can kind of write, it can look at images, it can create photos. Yeah. And ultimately, you've just said it there, that is a productivity that's a productivity tool. Generative AI is a productivity tool. It's not necessarily going to have an easy path to impact your P&L, but it's going to help you on a day-to-day basis in the workforce with productivity, translating documents, summarizing emails, knowledge retrieval, sifting through, complicated documents and things like that. So ultimately, those kind of tools are really helping us with productivity, and we're starting to entering into a world where these tools are starting to do things for us, which is called agentic AI, which we can get into in a little bit.
Yes.
So yes, I mean, we could spend an hour talking about this, but we effectively have generative AI, which is helping us on productivity. We have neural networks, which exist out there on the internet, and we interact with them every day, like your recommendations that you get when you're shopping and things like that. They're helping us. Yes, they're helping us with scanning documents. They're helping us with translation in the workforce. And then, of course, you have machine learning, which is helping you forecast. What's my demand going to be like? What's my inventory going to be like? What are my sales going to be like? Those capabilities are still there, and they're still very useful.
So do you think from what you're explaining us, and you just gave us a 5-minute masterclass, by the way, from invention of AI in the 50s until agentic AI today, coming through machine learning, deep learning, Gen AI, and agentic AI. So I really recommend people to keep these 5 minutes in mind, because it made you clarify extremely well the overall situation, right? And now, if you take these, what we apply in terms of AI for personal reasons that matters, this is productivity, this is ChatGPT. Now, using that technology beyond machine learning and deep learning, which is there and implemented for a while, what are the main possibilities, or what are the main challenges that a company like, as you say, right, 160-year Swiss company can benefit from agentic AI or potentially Gen AI applied to corporate world? I think this is one of the question leaders are asking themselves, and you say it right. No, it's hard to find P&L impact. There was that study made by I think it was MIT saying that 95% of the pilots are failing at some point or not generating P&L or EBIT value. So if you take this, I mean, you already gave a lot of explanation on your first explanation, right, with these different type of AI. But now if we focus on agentic AI or also Gen AI at corporate level, what a company like DKSH and other type of similar company can benefit from, and what are the barrier to entrance this type of companies?
Yeah, well, let's first of all talk about productivity. I know a lot of leaders are saying, I want to see P&L impact.
Yes.
Productivity isn't enough, but let's say, like look at Microsoft Excel. Many companies run on that. It's very hard to measure the P&L impact. But Florian, what do you think would happen to most companies if we took away Microsoft Excel?
Yeah, done.
Exactly.
Same as you take away the computers or the cell phones, right? It's something that became.
Exactly. So one of the things that we need to think about when it comes to productivity is, are we still able to is our business able to grow and become more complex, but we still have the same amount of headcount? One example from my former company, Microsoft, is that when they started to embed AI into their finance division, Microsoft started selling you a $300 copy of Office, all the way to microtransactions on Xbox. So the number of SKUs went up massively, the transaction size went down, and the number of transactions went up significantly. And then the revenue of the company also went from about 100 billion to 200 billion or whatever it is today. But their finance team has not increased headcount in 7 years. It's been the same headcount. And so a lot of the AI tools that they're using to enhance productivity are clearly working. So that's one way to think about productivity in that sense. In terms of some of the other areas where, where are these things having an impact? That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way to think about it is, imagine that you've got a triangle, and at the very top of that triangle, you have a small population of experts. This is your AI team, or this is your small team that you want to invest in that's going to tackle those complicated use cases. And this team will focus on the hard, high-impact stuff, generally with things like machine learning or deep learning that we talked about before.
Yeah.
Then the next slice of the triangle down is your power users and sort of technical experts inside of your organization.
Yeah.
There's a lot of AI tools out there today that require a little bit of technical knowledge, but you don't need to be a trained, exactly. You don't need to be a trained data scientist to use. That part of the population needs to get access to those AI tools so that you can start scaling that transformation throughout your business. And then, of course, you've got your general population. And your general population, which is the bottom of that triangle, that's all of your office workers, all of your business folks. They all really need to understand how they can use these generative AI tools to help them in their day-to-day job. And by unlocking those three levels, you can tackle strategic AI initiatives that will have P&L impact or should have P&L impact. Mm-hmm. You can tackle that transformation, that business transformation at scale with the power users. And then you can have that wide productivity play where everybody starts to use AI on a day-to-day basis to help them with their job. And then you may find that your company can grow in complexity and size without having to keep growing headcounts in some areas.
Yeah, I get your point. So like this image of the triangle makes a ton of sense for any type of vertical, actually. And this is what makes this understandable and insightful, right? From the productivity level, the operational level, and then on, as you say, on business transformation. I mean, that's great to see that level of understanding. Now, if we take a look at the chemical industry. And I think we will use not chemical industry to go too deep, but potentially to take a concrete industry use case, right? So we can talk to both of us, but also to our audience, right? This is an industry that relies a lot on people and on know-how, right? Our sales guys, they are actually technical experts, and they have tons of knowledge on the formulations, on the ingredients, on the dosage, on the regulatories, and so on. If we take AI out of the meeting rooms and more into this real world, and we take this triangle approach that you're sharing with us, what would be the most obvious use case so we can help accelerating their productivity?
Yeah, so I think the chemical industry as well, there's a lot of similarities in insurance and finance, where you have these very highly technical experts that go out and they have a face-to-face conversation with somebody to make a sale. And depending on what is being sold, there also can be slow lead times. I think, well, first of all, just because we have AI doesn't mean that the challenges that we have today suddenly are different. We always want to focus on what are those challenges that we have. So really, ultimately, we want our sales force to be able to sell more. And our sellers, if we talk to them, they want to either make more commission or they want to be able to do their job more efficiently, maybe make sales without seeing as many customers. And if we look at the complexity, and if I look at the complexity in the chemicals business and also like insurance and banking and some other industries, where I see a lot of the reps leveraging AI is being able to do information retrieval, so and knowledge retrieval. So if I have a complicated question that needs to be asked, How can I access the information quickly? How can I access the regulation or the technical data sheets or whatever that knowledge is quickly to retrieve that information so I can do my job more effectively? There is also a lot.
It's like more as a technical assistant, right? What you're saying is like,
yes.
maybe you can connect this with a agentic AI to say like, okay, that chemical ingredients, can I sell it at this level of dosage in Taiwan? And then getting automatically the right insight with the right sources of data and input, so you can get up to speed in terms of knowledge and information to share with customers, right?
Exactly. So that massive repository of knowledge that you have sitting there around all the regulatory components and all of that kind of stuff, being able to retrieve that at your fingertips effectively.
Yeah.
So that's one area. Another area as well is where I see this being used is the more senior and experienced reps tend not to like AI telling them what they should do. But when you get fresh reps, and when there is training required, I see AI helping a lot to onboard these reps quicker. For example, getting up with your call plans, getting up with your route plans quicker, understanding who your customers are, your customers' buying patterns and buying behaviors. If there's language translation that needs to happen to onboard these reps quicker from like another language to English or English to another language. So that kind of new rep that's coming on board, getting them up to speed a lot quicker, I think is another area where I see AI helping a lot.
So that's maybe the light of AI in the operations and in the chemical industry. And many people, and when we talk about people and when we talk about people business, we talk also about the shadow, right? Give you an example. A couple of years back when we were talking about digitalization and this boom of customer portal, people were afraid, saying, okay, what's the point, right? Is it to digitalize everything and then bypass people? And then with the time, the theory and the application show that we have a big gap, right? Digitalization is here to increase the pipeline, to increase the size of the pizza instead of taking a slice of such a pizza. So with the year, we managed to get this type of level of adoption from the people and from the people using it. And what we see with AI and potentially AI helping on getting into more efficiency in the processes, you talked about Microsoft, which is not increasing the number of headcount for many years, is that the shadow of that can be, okay, I'm here to support something to be implemented, but at some point, as a person, not as a corporate, but as a person, it might backfire and say, okay, good, thanks. Now, thank you. So how best to handle these fears, because there is always fear with new technology since the invention of the train, right? So how to handle these fears and making sure that we can, all of us, go into the same direction?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, like it's not that the pie is limited, like you said, and that we're now fighting AI over a piece of the pie. It's about growing the size of the pie. I mean, we've been through a big digital transformation when, Microsoft Office came on the PC. Everybody got a PC in the 90s, and that made the pie bigger. It didn't take it. Yes, there were very small amounts of jobs that were gone, but the pie got bigger and everybody could be more productive. Then we went through the internet, and then we went through the smartphone. And all of those things grow the pie. And in this world, if is AI is not going to be able to go out there and sell chemicals in a face-to-face kind of situation. What it's there to do, it's not there to replace people, but what it's there to do is to be the co-pilot. And it's there to reduce the cost of serve. So there are many more customers out there maybe than a rep can do in a day. So those customers maybe can be handled, ones that have based on their cost of serve and based on their segmentation, can be offloaded to certain digital and AI channels. And then the reps and the sellers, the human sellers, can focus on those much more higher value, much more strategic customers and clients where you're going to have the face-to-face conversation. And of course, AI can also help with transcribing the meeting and helping you with your notes and all that boring work that you really don't want to have to do, so that you can focus on, the high value stuff. So that's kind of like where it's going. I don't think that we're heading to this world where we're fighting AI for the pie. You may hear some in the media, some tech leaders say that agents are going to be part of the org chart and all of this kind of stuff like that. I think that's kind of nonsense.
It's agentic company, right? Niche.
Yeah. because we still need accountability. And ultimately, we like buying things from people we like.
From people
We like buying things from humans. So it's just going to help grow the pie and take away a lot of that low value work that we just don't want to do.
And strengthen people to people relationship at some point, right? When it's about B2B or chemical distribution, we talk about H2H, and this human to human approach is like, in our team, we get asked to increase the pipeline of potential opportunities so they get more people to see whenever there is a trade show or a fair somewhere in the globe. And from what you're saying, right, it also helps to get machines talking to machines and more humans to humans, right? And that frustration of humans talking to machine, because this is something that we see more in B2C than in B2B, but this is generating a lot of frustration. Maybe AI is something that can help solving at some point. But this is what we are talking about, Dave, and all of this. We talk about potentially, yes, we talk about the results and the potential applications. Now, there is that joke, like if you were a boss wears like this, you're not going to be replaced by AI. So there is this kind of still a way to go. And I think one of the way to go beyond the results, beyond the potential discussions on headcounts and structure of the company is how is the data of the company monitored, right? And we in that industry and also other industry, we're driven by two sets of data, right? One is the ERP, the other one is the CRM, and then we try to merge data together to deliver value. This is still a big headache for companies. So that's a bit like the scary side of the AI, right? If you don't make pre-work and you come from computer science, so you know that much better than anyone else, right? The role of the data scientist or the data engineer is key to bring value to the AI. But if you think about a company that is not having such a background or such a capacity in-house, what is the uncomfortable truth that company must accept before can AI actually have an impact in their P&L? And where to start?
Yeah, I think we're all enamored by AI at the moment. So one thing is that when you go and use ChatGPT or a similar kind of tool for your own personal use, the data that you're working on is usually very curated. It's your own personal data, or you're helping it answer very basic questions. But as soon as you go into this enterprise world, and you start to use these kind of technologies, enterprise data is nonsense. Like imagine that you have an intern, right? And you sit an intern down in front of SAP and you go, okay, you tell me what my profit is. What's the intern going to do? They're going to look at this going, what the hell?
What the hell?
It's like we've got 6-7 different columns of profit in CHF and like GM1 and GM2. What does all this mean?
Correct.
Yeah, they won't be able to figure it out, right? And AI is the same. So if you try and throw all of any kind of AI at your data, and it's what we call it's not very semantic, which means it's not very readable, it's not very understandable, or your data is just plain wrong, then AI is not going to be able to work magic on that data. So I think data is still foundational. And in this part of the world, in Singapore and Asia, we like to eat chicken rice. The chicken's the exciting bit and the rice is the boring filler. The data is like the rice. You still need to make sure that you sort that foundation out. And one of the things that we're doing in DKSH is that we're not giving up on that foundation of data. We're still investing in that. But we are also making our data more AI ready. So that's more semantic, more readable. We have consistent product hierarchies. So I think probably one of the big things that people get this misconception about is that they don't want to invest in their data, but you still have to. AI is much more capable now than what it was, but yeah, you still got to invest in that data, and that can take time. It can take time.
It can take time, and this is also a bit more of a personal question, because when you are an industry leader and you're willing to invest, and I think there was a study from McKinsey saying that 92% of the companies are willing to keep investing in AI. Actually, what are you investing to? Because we get approached by plenty of companies or kind of package AI for your company, tailor-made for your company. But it's the technology itself. I mean, if you see something that is released by Google, potentially sometimes even 24 hours later, the same feature is there on OpenAI, and then the same feature is there somewhere else. So the cycle, like the sprint cycle that used to be 1 month or 2 to 3 weeks, now it looks like it's 48 hours. So if I'm investing into something, potentially my investment or the technology I got from that investment got outdated like a couple of months later. So what will be your light or your direction on this?
Well, I mean, you need someone in your company that understands technology and that can guide you in the right direction. That you can't just rely on consultants or vendors or be in the dark, because they all have their own things that they want to sell, right? So it's like you need their fundamental understanding. Just like today, IT departments understand internet, they understand how to roll out Office, they understand that kind of stuff. So you need that. You need that kind of skill. But then, look, at the end of the day, there are 4 or 5 foundational AI state-of-the-art models out there. There's Google's, there's OpenAI, Microsoft's, there's Anthropic, and there's a few others like DeepSeek. There's kind of 4 models. And all these vendors that are coming to you, they are not building anything revolutionary. They're just adding their own middleware, their own layout, adding their own stuff into the chicken rice, putting a massive premium on it, and then coming to you and then charging you a premium for something that you can already access. And yes, and so you can already access these models, you can already build on these models, and like any technology trend, these models are being commoditized by the big tech companies like the Microsofts and the Googles of the world. And so the value proposition of these millions of little vendors will disappear. Many of them will go out of business because there will be a feature that Microsoft will release or Google that release that will blow away their whole idea. So my advice is to pick your partners, pick your strategic partners. So DKSH, we have SAP, we have Salesforce, and we have Microsoft. Those guys aren't really going to go out of business. They sort of do compete against each other, so you can use them to keep each other honest. But pick your strategic partners and don't get enamored by all of these little startups that may sound too good to be true. And you need somebody in your company that does understand this and that can guide you through this as well.
Definitively, I think makes a ton of sense. And as you say, right, there are few technology providers. There are few companies with the network and the data available for bringing value at scale. And there is also a big risk for SaaS model. No, I mean, it means like most of the time, any update, any new functionality, any new release is potentially putting in trouble some solution as a service that are working in the standalone, right? This is what you're sharing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's all these chatbot vendors out there, right? Let's say, where we've got a finance solution or an HR solution. And the problem is that a lot of them, when you go and buy their solution, it doesn't interact with other AI solutions in your organization. You end up with a cottage industry, just like we don't want data silos and we don't want application silos. You end up with an AI silo and you end up with a cottage industry of solutions. And they generally tend to lag behind the latest releases. And these days, almost anyone that's listening to this podcast, I could teach you how to build a chatbot without having to go to a vendor, because the technology has been commoditized now. And Correct. So you end up in this lock-in situation that's very difficult to get out of.
That's super interesting. Look, Dave, I think what you're sharing is having a lot of value for people listening to us. You do not have into your hands a crystal ball yet, but from your expertise, right? I mean, we think was a Bill Gates sentence say like we most of the time underestimate what's happening within 10 years and overestimate what's happening in 2 years. What is your estimation what is going to happen for the next 10 years? Broad question. Sorry for that. It's closing question.
10 years is a long time, but let me tell you that young kids today are going to be buyers tomorrow. And they are going to expect to interact with digital channels and AI solutions because they use that on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
The capabilities that you see today are going to be blown away in the next few years. I mean, if we look back even now, to when this started. Like generative AI, the capabilities are significantly better, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to hit artificial general intelligence. But the big thing that I have my eye on right now are these things called computer use agents, which is the ability for an AI to click through a computer screen and navigates a system like SAP with a prompt. So you say, load my purchase order, get my shipping data, and the AI figures out how to click through your computer and retrieve that information. That technology, if it matures, and I think it might in 2026, is going to be hugely disruptive. Yes, it's going to be hugely disruptive, because you think of all of the time spent interacting with all of these systems.
Yes.
And all the money invested in building integration and things like that, that all goes away.
Correct.
So for me, that's maybe not 10 years, but that's maybe next year, something to look out for.
Wow. So we will have an episode 2, I think, of that podcast with you within maybe 1 year or within 2 years, so we can continue from that last statement, because I think it makes a lot of sense. That we hear a lot about singularity. One is going to reach that point of singularity of this, making your own assessment and taking decisions, right? And taking corporate decisions. So we will closely look ahead for that. And I think DKSH is extremely lucky having an expert like you within its team to driving the digital, but also the AI transformation through the years. Hey, Dave, thanks a lot for your honesty, also for sharing all those insights about AI, data, and adoption. You have this capacity, and maybe it comes from your background as a student, to simplify a concept that is hard to understand. And we hear around a lot of complex words, keywords, people talking as an expert. And I think the real talent is being able to understand something complicated and to share insight and to help people understanding them. And I think you really did it today. So I'd like to thank you so much, Dave, for that. Thank you for participating to our podcast. Maybe a few words before we close.
And thank you very much, Florian. I look forward to coming back as well to see if any of my predictions are coming true in a year. And it's an interesting time. We've all got to have an open mind, learn and be curious. And I guess the one thing is, when it comes to AI, hey, not everything's going to succeed. So we've got to adopt that learning and experimental mindset. But exciting nonetheless. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Thanks a lot, everybody, for listening that episode, and congratulations if you made it the entire episode until now. This was the latest episode of our Digital Chemical Playbook. Please do not forget to subscribe, to like, to comment, and also share your suggestion for the next guest of our podcast. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Bye bye. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Bye bye.